Hello and welcome to Stampscapes Friday Night Live. All right, just a little, well, not a little, but a full page composition, but a pretty simple structure, okay? It just happens to be on a piece of the pre-printed vintage paper. It's double-sided if you ever mess up on anything, which is a good thing. But this is going to make this scene go pretty fast, at least in terms of what I have planned for it. I have no idea how it's going to come out because this is just all kind of something that I don't know, concocted like, I don't know, 5 minutes ago. I was planning on doing, I have so many things that I want to try out, but I thought, yeah, let's try something with this paper here, using a bunch of my private stamps again, like I did a couple weeks ago. And I wanted to base it around this sun wavy rays here because it's a really cool thing to use with like an eyeball stamp like that. And you can do it, you can flip this around and do it two ways, which I've always liked the look of. But it sets a pretty cool foundation for a pretty dynamic scene. And it's just one of those things. It's, like kind of a Halloween in spirit, but it's not your, conventional Halloween type of whatever scene, besides the stamps. But it's just one of those things that I kind of want to work into the composition. Here's this like artifact. I forgot what this is. This isn't Anubis. It's some kind of an Egyptian type of thing. It looks like a jaguar and a man or something like that. I don't even recall who this is from, but I think it was from, Tisha and Tracy Moore. I can't remember the name of their company. They had I don't know, like 2 or 3 companies. But I'm going to have this one down here. Hello, Paula and Ginger. So we're looking at something like this dynamic right here, okay? And then everything else, you just kind of fill in around it. So, it's kind of one of those things where you just go with the, some of the largest elements. And it's like if you're packing like a suitcase or something like that, you just kind of put in the largest things first, and you fill all, your other things around it. So let's just see how this goes. Okay, now I almost forgot. I was using some StazOn on this pre-printed paper here the other day, but I forgot that the Brilliance worked on it really well. And maybe even better than the StazOn. So we're going to try that. So I was getting confused between the wood grain paper, which maybe, I don't know, maybe I found the StazOn work best on that one. Okay, so with this right here, I'm going to stamp it twice, and I'm going to try to aim this eyeball for the inside. Now, I find it easier to take a small stamp and to fit it in here than to stamp this one and to, I don't know, I guess that wouldn't be hard to do that either, but I'm just going to position this first here, okay? And we'll see what we can do here as far as the registration when I stamp it upside down like that in there to get kind of more of a full sun, okay? Hello, Linda and Patty. More quick, I don't know, quick fulls page scene? I don't know. Oh, that always seems strange to think of anything full pages being quick relatively speaking. So it's going to be quicker than like 4, you know what I mean? Like your typical 4 quarter page pieces, if we're starting with a white piece of paper. All right, I'm taking a little bit more time to ink up here. I just re-inked this. The stamp looked super clean, so sometimes when you're starting off with like a super clean stamp, it almost looks like it's kind of resisting the ink to me, which is the reason why I don't clean my stamps. I'm just joking. I don't clean it because I'm lazy. But I figure I better tell you that. If you don't know, I'm joking already, because sometimes people, they see me as an authority with certain things, and it's like someone tells me they're never going to clean again or something. All right, so I'm going to wipe off the edge because I might put in some of my cloud cumulus around in here. And right around in here, I'm going to dab off a little bit of ink right in here, just because that's where the eyeball's going. So I'm not worried about some of this getting into that eyeball design, and I'm not going to take the time to, absolutely work around that. Not on this scene here. I don't need things to be absolutely clean in terms of, that overlap. I think, okay, so someone was asking me, they were doing one of the reflection cards. I'm trying to remember which scene they were using, and they were using the pre-printed. I mean, not the pre-printed, the printable vinyl holographic sticker paper, and they were saying, hey, I re-inked my pad. They were using Brilliance and Stays On. Brilliance for the top part, I think, and Stays On for the lower portion, but they weren't getting really good impressions. Sometimes with the Brilliance ink, what you want to do is you want to let it set up, pretty well. Okay, so when you're stamping it out, it's not completely dry or anything like that, but you just you hold it down for a little bit longer, because this is a faster drying type of ink. So you allow it to kind of start setting up. Not so much on this paper, but on like the less than porous papers. I mean, this isn't super porous either. That's why I'm using the Brilliance as opposed to a dye-based ink. But sometimes with the Brilliance inks, you just want to hold it down a little bit longer, because it does start setting up. It does start to dry and adhere and transfer. And it depends where you're stamping. She was probably stamping, I think she was stamping the Lakeside Cove Large, which has a lot of solid tree area. So if you have kind of a wet medium, and it's kind of thicker because it's Brilliance ink, and then you're adhering, you want to transfer it like on a foil or something like that that's not very porous, if not, completely non-porous. If you're going down there like that, and it's this wet ink in between there, sometimes when you lift it off, if it's still, it creates a vacuum and it pulls ink off of that, so it doesn't transfer. So just allow it to transfer when it comes to certain types of things. The best thing is just I always recommend, when people get a different type of surface than they've used before, and a lot of the metallics or things that people haven't really stamped on too much. I have to remember this too when I'm stamping on it, if I haven't done it for a while. What you want to do is you just want to make your impressions, test it on a piece of paper, and then lift it, or count how long you're doing it, or just kind of get the feel of it and figure out how long is the ideal contact time. Sometimes too much contact with like a Stays On ink is too long, and it dries, while you're making your impression, and then you're lifting like all of the ink or a lot of it, that ink off. So it's different for different inks. So you just want to get a feel for it, and then once you get the feel for it, you pretty much know, how long to make that impression for. While you're doing those cards. She was going to make, I think, Christmas cards out of it. So, you know what I mean? When you're doing it in a production line type of thing, she'll get it down. But I think it was, when people are using it for the first time, they might be making the same kind of impression time with those stamps as they do with like, matte cardstock and dye-based inks or something like that, where you're getting that absorption, whatever factor with the paper, the surface. My thing was a little bit skewed, but then eyeball's going right in there anyway, so no big deal, right? So anyways, play around with it, test it out. Sometimes I'm even forgetting, like from like a week ago, what ink to use on certain types of surfaces, so I totally get it though. Okay, this eyeball is going in right here. Okay, smaller stamp, I don't need to hold this down probably quite as long. This one was a little bit more of a delicate stamp, you know, where there's like tiny little dots, you know what I mean? So you want to get a really good transfer, especially for it to show up on, you know, a pre-patterned textured paper like that. You don't want to stamp out like a, you know, like a 50% or something like that gray, okay? All right, so nice and kind of weird and dynamic, right? And it's the sun wavy rays. So here's, you know, what I'm talking about. Let me see if I can get a good impression with that. Look at all that surface area on this one right here. So kind of the opposite of these stamps right here, which are really light and delicate and tonal. This one's really solid right here. So let's see if I can get a good impression with this. Go like right about right here. I wanted to do, or I still want to do, I'll maybe do that sometime, but I want to do, after doing all these kind of aged types of papers, or just the real kind of simple wood grain paper pieces over these last, I don't know, whatever, a couple weeks that I've been doing that, I really wanted to do a really super dynamic metallic foil type of thing, holographics, you know, maybe using the Miri lava papers and stuff like that. But I wanted to do a piece kind of like this, in the spirit of this, but on those really dynamic papers, but using different papers, maybe layering something like this over the foil, but then matted on, you know, the wood grain or something like that to play. But I don't know. I didn't have time to kind of think of, you know, conceive of that kind of arrangement right before jumping on here. So this is going to be kind of a preliminary study, maybe. I want this one to look good too, but it'll be a preliminary study for maybe doing this in a different version on kind of a more dynamic surface. Okay, so allowing this one a little bit more time to set up. You can see all these solid areas within here. I mounted this one myself and stamped this on top of this piece of blank wood that I had. Like I said, I think this one was from, I can't remember the, oh, that did stamp out really well. Yeah, it's Tisha and Tracy Moore. I can't remember the name of that company that they had. I think they had Ornamentum in the beginning, and I think they sold it, if it was Ornamentum, and then I think, I don't know, Tisha, I think she had like 3 companies or something like that. But anyway, really cool imagery. All right, who is this from? Rubber Stamps of America. Okay. If you've been stamping for a while, you know Rubber Stamps of America and the Ken Brown stamp line that they had. He's the one that also did the, it was Ken Brown, right? He does that, if you've seen my Creature of the Black Lagoon, he did that stamp design. Which I wonder, now that I'm thinking about it, I wonder if that Creature of the Black Lagoon, I wonder if that's licensed or if it's in the open kind of marketplace, or whatever, open domain or something like that. After so many years. Okay, so this is going to be kind of this little skeletal kind of a, I don't know, whatever, party going on here. and I have a lot of different skeletons. I didn't consciously collect skeletons or anything like that, just at some point in time. When I looked at my collection, it was like, oh, there's a lot, kind of a decent amount of skeletons in my private collection. Hello, Bonnie, Buddy, Jeannie, Leslie, good to see you. Yeah, that eyeball makes for a nice, strong kind of focal point, doesn't it? All right, this one's going right here. This is the one that I just used in my, my, a little bit too big, red rum piece, which kind of worked, it was a little bit forcing, crowbarring in that kind of red rum on those rocks a little bit. But that's the only way I could get that into a scene, since I don't have like an indoor, blank door or something like that to do that on. I'm referencing this movie called The Shining, by the way. Stephen King book. But fun thing about these little skeleton types of things, you can do them this way. You can do them like this. They can be lying on the ground if you want to. You can have grass or something like that where they're kind of exposed or something like that. I usually have my skeletons kind of alive, and I don't know. They're not really, when I do them, they're not really necessarily supposed to represent like someone's, remains or something like that. It's more of like a skeletal party, when I'm using them. Them out kind of dancing around or something like that. As a matter of fact, this one wouldn't be too bad right there if I want to make it really festive. But when I do this type of thing too, a lot of times I've done it like as a kind of like a lunar map type of thing. Like this is the sun and this is the orbit around it or something like that. Which I think I'm going to do. I brought out my compass right here, and these are really fun to use. So this is a compass. I forgot the name of this type of compass, but it has these little arms that go in here. You can put in, and they sell these now. When I say now, probably last, I don't know, whatever, 30 years or something like that. But when I bought my compass, this was in high school. But see, this goes right in here. But then, and they still have these, okay? They have this other little leg that goes in here. And this thing is just called like a universal adapter. And it's this little screw thing right here. And this little thing goes in and out. So you can hold whatever type of medium you want in there. Okay, so you can put a colored pencil, you can put your gel pens, paint pens, whatever you want into this little location here, which is really cool. When I was in high school, I didn't know the differences between different types of compasses, so I went to the stationery store and bought one. It was like, oh wait, what? Because I had the universal adapter, and it didn't fit, or it didn't go because this, there was no little stem thing right here. It was just, this thing was, there was nothing that came off right here. But luckily this friend of mine, he was big into drafting, back then you can take drafting classes in high school. And he knew what it was. He goes, yeah, there's this compass and there's this stem that comes out with this hole up there. He goes, that's probably where it goes. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to create this relationship between this eyeball and the edge of the page. So I'm just going to loosely draw this in here. I'm going to do it really lightly because I'll be adding something in here later, like that. Okay, so I should have had, maybe I'll do it a little bit lower actually. I have these different moons here, and I was just going to do these little moons, like a little Oh, I know what I'll do. I'll do it to the inside of that line, like that. And then I'll create a line that kind of bisects the moons right here, like they're kind of orbit. Yeah, I guess I don't have to have them right here, 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 and here. I can have them like right around on the sides or something like that, like they're orbiting this, you know, eyeball. I was gonna say sun, but I guess they're orbiting the, that eye in there. All right, so let's just add those in right now. Okay. All right, so, okay, this is the quarter moon, crescent moon. It's hard to see it right there, like even for me. But I know one's a crescent moon. Okay, so see that's lighter on that side and darker over here. So I'm going to do it where the sun is, illuminating these whatever, satellites around here, planets, moons, whatever. So I am going to face that lighting towards. I am going to put them right on the line. Like that. So see, I mean, it's just like a subtle thing. I mean, that's the quarter moon, so you don't have too much of a difference there. But like the gibbous moon, it's like a half moon. It's going to be a little bit more illuminated. So that's the light side, and this is the darker. So I'll show you what that looks like here. Okay, so that's the lighter side. So I'm going to put that lighter one, facing that moon somewhere. Somewhere on this ring right here, okay? I mean, you can make the orbit, kind of separate too. It doesn't have to be on this one line right here. You can have like another kind of orbit in there. Maybe one's farther out or something like that too. Okay, so I'll put it right over here, about like that. All right. And this one's a full moon. I mean, you can snap these things more than once too. Doesn't have to be just once. And let's put it over right here, maybe. Yeah. Right. Something like that. All right. Do you have I know you have eyeballs, Linda. Do you have that sun wavy rays? Yeah, I don't use that sun wavy rays too often. It's really stylized, but I used it a lot, like in this type of setting. I don't know. There might be a few examples of it in the stamp module. I can't remember. But yeah, it's definitely one of those kind of first tier types of designs. I do the type of design like that because I like using that type of thing. Yeah, that's why I have those kind of a little bit more obscure types of designs, like you know, the nebula with star or something like that. Kind of a slightly weirder designs. Although a nebula, it's not, kind of a weird in terms of an object, but it's just kind of it's not very common for someone to use it in stamping, you know, but those types of things like that, and it's the celestials mostly, you know, that I don't know, I kind of do those for me, you know, I don't know. There's some people out there that that are kind of drawn to that type of, you know, those types of imagery too. All right, so I'm just gonna figure out what I'm doing here. This kind of little slug here would be kind of interesting, crawling along. I mean, this circle is going to be drawn in there more definitively later, but that snail would be kind of interesting, crawling along on that. But anyway, I'll figure something out with that. Okay, so let's see. Let's get that cloud going in here. I'm winging it, people. If this is the first time you've logged on to a live stream, some of them are kind of a little bit more instructional. A lot of them are kind of real, kind of a explorational in format where I don't have something completely composed in my head. Before kind of attempting it. So we're just kind of winging it here. All right, we have this cloud cumulus right here. And I can add some of this right around on this too, like this. I think that would look interesting. All right, so here's what I need to do. I need to test. I want to stamp this a little bit lighter than everything in here, okay? And this is really sopping wet right now too. All right, so if it was a little bit drier, I could potentially use it, but I'm going to see what kind of impression I get from my dye-based ink. And I'll just do it on the back of this. It depends on what your black pad is too. Mine looks like it's about kind of medium where I like to keep it most of the time. Okay, so that's, you know, that's like a, I don't know, I'd say it's like a 50% gray or something like that. So I think that'll be perfect for that. Okay, if not a little bit lighter, I think it would go really well in there. Okay, so if you're using an unmounted version of this cloud, what a lot of people do is you see where that lighting is coming from that direction. So if the cloud is underneath the sun, you know, we're going to have it top lit. If the cloud is above it, it's going to be bottom lit. If you have an unmounted bare piece of rubber, what I'd recommend doing is something that one of my customers told me that she did, which is a great idea. And just on the back of the rubber, just painting an arrow, you know, on the rubber portion, the back of the rubber with that arrow facing the light. Okay, so you'll always remember that, and you'll always just kind of face it, you know, in that direction. All right, so here's what I'm going to do too. You can see that cloud, like, hopefully you can see it there. I'm going to wipe off like all of this right here in this scenario. You don't always wipe it all off, but in this scenario where I'm just doing one layer of it, probably, I'll wipe off that perimeter like that, and then we'll add it in like this. And where I've wiped it off, it should stamp out lighter and dry because it's drier. And therefore it'll transition, hopefully, really nice and gracefully into our light source. So if you have a cloud of sun or a lightning bolt or whatever, open sky, you just kind of wipe it off on that side of the cloud, you know, like that, okay? Now, a lot of times in other scenes, I'll have that cloud going out to the edge of the page, but I might want other things out here, a little, you know, little types of imagery, hands or something like that, or something funky, okay? So I'm wiping this off with each impression, and I'm also re-inking this with each impression. Especially on this paper, if I don't re-ink it, the next one would probably be, I don't know if it'd even be visible. Okay, I see this right here. you know, you can actually go over that moon because I've wiped off that cloud around that moon. So I don't have this big, huge cloud shape looking like it's in the moon because I've wiped it off already. And see this area right in here? I'm not going to mask those off. You know, it'd be a hassle to have to do. So this is going to, you know, potentially overlap right there. So you just kind of wipe it off. And plus it's stamping out lighter anyway. So if you wipe it off, you know, you really shouldn't have to worry about it at all. Even when this is in, you know, the darkest of all dye bastings, right? Just wipe, you know, wipe the stamp off like that. And there's no problem, you know, just going over things like that. Hello, Cynthia. Happy Friday to you. Hello, Crystal. Or I already said hello to Crystal, huh? I seem to recall you having that, those wavy rays, Linda. I don't know why. I mean, you probably have all of them, right? Okay, let's see. Here we go here. All right. That was a little bit harsh right there. I should have wiped off a little bit more there. I didn't know I inked it up on that, you know, that lower portion like that. So someone might have watched, I don't know, saw a scene, you know, with the wood grain paper and like a, you know, a nice bright and cheery looking card. And then they log into their first live stream tonight and think, what in the world is this the, you know, is this the channel or whatever where they made that other that other, you know, that other scene. All right, so we have that going in there. Now, I might build this out, okay, you know, some additional clouds, but, you know, I want to use this as kind of more of a filler around my different little imagery. So we definitely need some things right in here. I don't know about the corners right here because this area right here already is pre-printed and darkened out so much that we wouldn't really be able to see anything anyway, so I'm not sure because you know, on this type of kind of formatting here, you know, you kind of want to have things kind of equal on each side. Like if I put something out here, you know, it's probably like in these corners, you know, this little orbit right here. So I'm not sure. But yeah, we definitely want something. I might just darken this up too, you know, to kind of to match that side like that. But I don't know. We'll see. All right. Huh. We have a lot of space to fill in on this piece here. I have my bats like that, you know. The bats could have went up there pretty well to make it look a little bit more Halloween-ish. I have this little baby skeleton guy. I don't think I have room for that one anymore. Okay, so here's this dancing skeleton too. Like I said, this would kind of be interesting like that, because he's kind of in that format like that. It's almost like going around, you know, if we made this into like a clock or something like that. Let's see. The hands, like that. No. It looks like horns if I do it like that. It looks like horns on the, like that eyeballs, like wearing a hat or something like that if I did that. All right, let me see. I did want to use this branch coming in from the edges somewhere on this piece. Like that. Or should I make a horizon back up in here? I think I'm going to do that. I think we're going to separate this because this is like a bunch of like, I don't know, it's like a bunch of like empty space in here. And I think somewhere here, here's the base of that circle right up there. And I think if I do like a slope right in here, I can put things up on that slope right in here. Like trees or something like that. Okay. Let's do this. Let's kind of keep it somewhat uniform on this one. So let's see. Let me do it like this. I'm just measuring this out right here. Let's go from right here and right here. Is that it? All right, so that right there is going to meet this area right here, okay, with my slope like this. And we'll create it with the sedge filler right in here. Let's go pretty dark with this. Let's go with the Brilliance Black. Okay, here's what I'm going to do, though. That Brilliance Black, it's super thick on here. And yesterday when I was doing that red rum piece, it really it got a little blotchy in places. So just because I wanted that ink to be really thick. So let's do this like that. So this is what you always do. You know, I did it with the cloud. You just kind of wipe off that stamp a little bit. And it'll be a nice transition between one impression and the next impression. Especially with textural types of stamps, you know, kind of delicate textural stamps. You know, like with these clouds, you know, it's made up of just dots, and the sedge filler is just made up of a bunch of little dots. So you're not wiping off all the ink, you're just kind of drying it a little, you know, wiping off some of it so that it stamps out from dark to light right there. So you get the two light areas, you know, coming in contact with each other right in that space. Like that, so you don't really see, you know, the edges in there. It's really important with the cloud stamp if you're using it in really dark colors, which is important too. If I'm doing this in like a light green for a, you know, grassy spring meadow or something like that, you really don't need to wipe it off because the color's, you know, lighter to begin with anyway. All right, so we have that, and we'll build this down a little bit more too. Okay. All right, so that part was the most important part because that's my little horizon. In here, it's just going to be more like filler, okay? And I want it to kind of fade out a little bit because I don't want it to be so dark around my figures because the figures already kind of blend into the background, so I don't want to obscure them even more. So you know, I'll keep a little bit of a distance from them. I'm going to come in with a second impression right in here to make it really light. All right. Anyone know the name of that Egyptian, whatever, figure? I want to say Anubis, but I don't think it's Anubis. It's like a jaguar or something like that. Unless that's what Anubis was. I thought Anubis had, like a longer nose or something like that. All right, let's see. Let's get some trees up there on the horizon. Okay, I was gonna go with this again, like this, and maybe I should do that after I draw in my line in there, my orbit line later. Now let's just go with it now. Let's go for one more over here. I'm kind of wiping off the bottom of this where it's going into the grass, just like you do with, animals on their, whatever, feet, hooves. So it looks like it's in the grass a little bit more so. And let's go with the larger one out here, like this, to kind of push depth a little bit. So I don't want to go down. Let's see if I can do that. As long as this is kind of lower than this over here, that'll be okay. I'm worried, I don't want it to look like it's coming out of this little skeleton's head though. So maybe I can, that might be a little bit too much. I think it'd be better like over here. Okay, yeah. Let's go right here. That should be your favorite stamp, Linda. Sun wavy rays. Okay, just wiping off this a little bit right here. Let's go right here. This was always my favorite stamp to use with the cloud with lightning stamp like this, because you use this in the sky somewhere, and then these smaller versions or the larger version, it looks like that same type of element, right in here. As a matter of fact, I think I've seen people use the leafless linen in white ink in a dark background to represent lightning. But it's like the perfect accompaniment to the lightning stamp. So glad you like them, Crystal. Crystal, do you have some skeletons yourself? I put up in the the description of this this video here, the stream, that a lot of these companies aren't around anymore, but like this one right here, the dancing skeleton, this is Gumbo Graphics, this is Stamp Happy, those companies aren't around, but this imagery right here, I just know it's copyright free illustrations, so more than one company had like those skeletons in the past. I'm not sure. Okay, yeah, this is Rubber Stamps of America right here again. So they're not around either, but I can just tell that's not like a, that's an old engraving right there. So Um, yeah, these types of things are still around somewhere. All right, so we have that right there. Those trees really served a good purpose in there. But I want some more stuff going in here. After doing those monster maps last year, Linda's done some more. You didn't really do maps, but those kind of larger kind of formatted, kind of more densely populated compositions. Um, I think I want to put my ant right there. Anyone remember the movie Them? But after doing those monster maps, when you really kind of fill in a place, it's really fun to kind of just load a scene up with a bunch of different elements. It's kind of like I don't know, it's like a find Waldo type of spirit or something like that, and just really make a scene really dense with imagery. It's kind of fun to do. It's kind of weird composing that type of thing for me though, because usually I'm trying to not add in and like too much stuff, but I like that ant in there. But in this, I don't know, with the Halloween stuff, coming up, it's like, you can kind of I mean, you can do this with any type of thing, but I tend not to. But you can throw away a lot of different kind of notions, or rules or whatever, loose rules. Like I'm usually doing things like closer things, tend to be larger and lower on the composition. Higher things represent things that are farther away, but you can kind of really play around with whatever scale and perspective, when it comes to whatever stamping out, I don't know, Halloween imagery, or doing kind of more playful types of applications of your stamps right there. So I have a little parade of ants kind of coming in like that, from that direction like that. Let's see. Maybe I will add this bat out there. I do have a lot of other designs. Give me a minute here. I'm gonna go check my other. I have a lot of dozens of other stamps in here. Now that I can see this, you know what I mean? I might go over there and say, oh, okay, let me grab that, and that stamp. I'll be right back. Okay, just to avoid some, like, too much dead time, these aren't all my stamps, of course, but let me see. So here's this little clock thing. Yeah, maybe not in this piece, but we're gonna have those kind of round elements in there. But here's another little hand with an eyeball in there. Oh, this kind of that kind of goes with. I can put that up in the corner, like other eyeballs like that. So let's grab those couple other eyeballs. Here's a slug. That. What's a Halloween piece without a slug, right? Oh, here's a little crescent moon. Maybe not on this one. Here's a train. Hey, where's Froggy Fresh? Froggy Fresh, I didn't even remember I had that one. This is Imaginaire Designs right there. I think I bought that used at Viva Las Vegas Stamps. when he had someone's private collection that they had on consignment with. Here's another Rubber Stamps of America train. All right. Here's another snail, right? That might work in there. I really love this one right here. Okay, this isn't a show and tell, just showing every stamp that I have, but okay, I think those will do. All right. So we have these other eyes. That's not going to show up at all over there, though. What company is this? Oh, that's another Gumbo Graphics right there. But this eyeball right there would be, these two eyeballs right up there would have been cool. This one would have to go up here in white, though. Yeah, maybe I'll try it. If this doesn't show up in the white, though, the problem with this is if I put this thing right here, eyeballs are really kind of strong attention getters, so it's going to look a little bit imbalanced unless I put this like right along this orbit line too, like it's orbiting, like it's another kind of, I don't know, whatever, sun going around there or something like that. I could put it on the orbit line like that, and it'll seem like just something that's secondary to this one. I really want to get that eyeball in there with that hand, but I'm kind of struggling to find kind of a really good location for it. That crowds it a little bit. All right, I'll think about that. Let me let it go around in my subconscious here for a minute. Okay, so the slug, I think the slug goes right here. Do you know why you put the slug right here on this side of the scene? Then this side? So usually what I do is if I have kind of directional types of things, I mean, you see it everywhere in here, okay? So see these ants are kind of coming in from this side because they're pointed that way, right? So they're going into the scene like this. This guy right here, he's kind of pointing into the scene because he's kind of directional. This guy's kind of leaning, you know what I mean? Like this way, like something's kind of interacting with him. So I put him on the left side, and that's the same thing with the slug. It's going into the scene like that. So that I usually have things like that. Unless we're doing like a multi-page thing where, you know, we're flipping the page and there's like, you know, 5 different scenes like that, like in a interior illustration or something like that, where you want people compelled to turn the page. It's like, okay, this, you know, everything's kind of going this way, and it compels you to, you know what I mean, this extra thing, you know, visual that gets you to turn the page. So if it's a single kind of visual like this, I usually have things kind of looking into my pieces, you know, kind of drawing them in, like, you know, like it would like a stage or something like that. And this kind of snail, this slug looks like it's like looking out that way too. So, you know, you can have things looking at things, even if it's slug. All right. All right, this is going in there. It actually kind of, when I put it in there, when I take it out, it looks kind of like boring there without it. So it makes a good case for kind of putting it, you know, maybe adding it in. But, okay, I'm going to put that branch out there, so I'm going to try to get that eyeball right on that line somewhere. Yeah. If I was working with different colors too, it might be kind of interesting to do this in multiple different colors. Like I put it up there in blue, green, you know what I mean? Something like that on that line, but it's not really that type of, you know, we're not working with a bunch of different colors in here. All right, so here's another snail. See, you know, if you do this, There's that other thing. You have these three elements. Everything's kind of like aiming up at that, thing, the eyeball up there. So it's like a little directional types of elements. And so, I'm putting this snail right next to this thing, so we're not concerned with a scale or anything like that. This type of scenario right here, who knows? This is like it's like a whatever 4 foot, high snail or something, or it could be 3 foot, you know, snail. All right, so that it's kind of getting a little bit more festive, It's like a little bit more of a party kind of atmosphere going on here. Yeah. Anubis has the head of a Yeah, right. This one's a yeah, like a jaguar here. We have 3 foot skeletons that live in my house all year round. Brody is the oldest. I do not have any skeleton stamps, though. You don't need any skeleton stamps if you have 3 foot skeletons in your house year round, Crystal, huh? Unless you want to stamp out like a card, representing, Brody, the 3 Bs there. All right. Okay, let's see. I'm trying to think if I want anything else, like right around in this area, or is it time to start toning in? I think if I add anything else to this area down here, it's going to get a little bit too cluttered. Which, like I said, it could be a good thing too, but I think that is it. There. You know what I mean? Although that doesn't look bad up there. Okay, let me add in a little bit of foreground here with this overhanging branch like this. We'll close off the top of the composition slightly with this branch right here on both sides, okay? This will give us a little bit more depth in the piece, I think. Everything's kind of like at the same, I guess they're not at the same distance. I mean, I don't know how far that's supposed to, be away from us. But having just some larger elements in the foreground will... they'll frame off this piece a little bit more, I think. And then too, like in most pieces that I'm doing most of the time, I don't necessarily want them to feel like claustrophobic, but like in a Halloween scene, I don't think that's not a bad thing. All right, let's see. I might draw my line in here, my little orbit line right now, so that when I stamp this over the top of the line, it'll look like it's in front of the line as opposed to being behind it. If I'm drawing that line around that thing, I'm going to have to kind of skip over my branches there, because I'm going to have it overlapping in here in a couple different areas. So, okay. So let's go with this. I'm going to get my little... The black was just, to measure things out. I'm using my beige paint pen a lot over this last couple weeks on these different types of surfaces. All right. We have two of those kind of like life-size skeletons, you know, like Halloween decor. And I need to get those out and start decorating for Halloween. I was telling my wife, yeah, we need to start decorating early because it seems like by the time we get everything up, it's like a week before Halloween that it feels like we're just, we just got it all up and then it's like we're taking it down right away. Okay, so here's the orbit line right here. I think. Oh, wait. Okay. So see, this goes right to the edge of my page, which I do a lot of times when I'm doing this type of scenery or these types of elements like that. Yeah, they didn't go right. It didn't kiss the edge of the page, but got pretty close right there. But see, when you do that type of thing, you create a relationship between, it seems more purposeful when it goes up right to that line right there, or the edge, like that. My paint is really absorbing into this surface right here, so it's getting really light. So maybe go over it a couple times, or go over it as many times as you need to if you do this type of thing on this type of paper. Okay, something like that. I want this line a little bit lighter. Okay, here we go. All right, we have that right there. See that? And it just kisses like that little edge of this slope right there, too. Now, what does that mean, Crystal? One of your skeletons was just moved away, huh? Hello, Daniel. Or Danielle. Your brain doesn't conjure up scenes like this, huh, Linda? I don't know if I'm conjuring them up, but I'm just kind of like doing, used to stamp out like one, like a couple little elements. And then you just like start filling in after that, Like I couldn't think of this, you know what I mean? This type of composition um, just out of my head, you know what I mean? It's just kind of this type of thing. I mean, maybe if I did more of these, maybe. But it's kind of just more of a matter of, you know what I mean? Just the basic foundation. I knew I was going to stamp out that, whatever that is right there. And then this right here. And then everything else was kind of, I grabbed out the compass. I figured I'd do that little orbiting thing that I did in the past. But like this, all those slugs and stuff like that. Not really thinking about that. All those little types of elements, or the ant parade going on. right, so see that little branch coming in like right around in there. We'll come in like this. I'll make it a little bit less. I don't want to have everything's like completely, you know, spaced out evenly. We'll do something like this right here, I think. Like that, maybe. Oh, I didn't even think about word stamps too. Word stamps could have been cool in here, like, you know, a word here. I don't know if I have the words, you know. The words are, you know, the scenic sentiments, I don't know if they really go well in, you know, this type of scenario. You know what I mean? Like, you know, dream and peace, you know. It'd be more like, you know, a nightmare and, you know, boo or something like that. Although I do have like an alphabet set, I can, you know, have different, you know, word stamps. Word stamps would go along really kind of cool on this thing too. Or if you have rub-on letterings or something like that. I used to do these. I mean, it looks like this orbit in here, so you can have like a, you know, north-south, you know, east-west or something like that. Or you can do something in terms of time. You know, you can put like a October, you know, 31st, or, you know what I mean? Anything like that. You can put the date on there. It'd be kind of cool if you're doing a car, you know, a scene like this, 2023, and if you did it in like Roman numerals or something like that, it'd be kind of cool. Or you have a lettering that would go, that would be really cool. You know what I mean? If you have, I don't know, you can even do it like in wood grain or something like that. But if you have these little, I might add in some bling to this now I'm thinking about it, like gold, something like more of this type of paper, but then you have it matted in a little bit of gold or something like that, with gold on the perimeter like that. And you go 4 corners or something like that. I don't know if I have room down here now, but if you add some kind of like element in, like it'd be like 2023 or something like that, that'd be kind of interesting. Or you can do it in Roman numerals, you know, where this is 2023, you know, something like that, and that would go really well with the dial. Huh. And I'll think about some other things in here. But okay, so let's get to, I think that's it with the toning right here. Let's add a little bit of this down here in the corners down this way. Those extra little elements, if I added in, I'm not going to do it in this live stream. Those will take a while to do, you know, to cut out and stuff like that, and to, you know, things like that. So, but I think that'd be kind of interesting, you know, a little bit of a, you know, some additives to this. All right, so I added these reeds down below here a little bit to kind of frame it off a little bit more. Down below like that. All right, so there's our light source right there. Everyone know about shadows at this point in time from previous live streams. Okay, so if you haven't joined the live stream when I've talked about shadows before, there's different ways to do it, but my simple approach to it is, if, you know, if this was a light, you know, the light source in the piece, and we wanted to create some shadows from all these little objects in here, and those, it's really fun to do, and it looks really good, and you can do it just really in a very simple way. So we'll go to the center of that eyeball right there. But see, this is kind of roughly, like for this tree right here, you go down to the base of the tree, and it casts its shadow roughly in this direction. Now, this hill is supposed to be kind of sloped, you know, it's not this flat area, so see this right here, but just in general, this is the direction of the shadow right here. Okay, but I'll just kind of arc it a little bit more like this, you know, because it's this rounded hillside like this, and you kind of create the shadows a little bit darker right around at the base of whatever is casting the shadow. And then you kind of just, so it looks kind of like this. A little bit darker right here. And then out here, you kind of, you know, you make that shadow kind of a little bit spread out a little bit more like that. I mean, if it's really a super strong light, then you can have like a really elongated shadow, like if it's on like, you know, something is like casting a shadow on concrete or something like that. So it's like that, you know, just roughly like so. Okay, it looks kind of weird if you just added it, you know, these one little elements like that. But then if you do it consistently over all of your objects, okay, so see, here's this tree right here. All right, it goes like that. It goes down here like that. Now, I mean, I have this snail here, so I don't want to interfere with that too much. So I'm just going to kind of dissipate that shadow a little bit, you know, before it gets to the snail like that. But see those shadows just on those trees like that, you know, right here. It just kind of reiterates perspective. Now that's for like these taller things like that, but you know, what do you do for something like this, okay? Well, if he's casting a shadow, you know, the shadow is going to be like a little bit lower, so I'll have them like, you know, a little bit like this, and I don't know how it'd look like on an ant. I'm just, you know, I fake it, so I just do something like that, okay? So he's right underneath that, you know, that sun like that, so you can have a little bit more, you know, this shadow is kind of roughly featured right here. But see on this one right here, what you do is just, you know, you just slightly tweak the shadow out this way because it's to the, you know, the right of the sun. So you can put the shadow a little bit more out here. I mean, there's a little detailed thing. You can do the ants like the same way with all of them. But, you know, that's a little bit of a thing like that. See, that's right here. It's a little bit, you know, centralized. And this one's over here. This one over here. Maybe the shadows, you know, starts kind of mid-body or something like that. Or something like that. This one could be a little bit lower. Like that. But you see these little shadows like that? So it kind of anchors our little objects down there. There's our slug. You know, the slug is, it's a little bit this way, so the shadow would be positioned a little bit more this way to the left side, like about like that. So like that. So see how it kind of anchors it down? It's kind of going in the same, you know, general direction as this one right here. Things are angled, shadows like that. They're angled a little bit like that. So they're fun little things to add in there. Shadows, they kind of, you know, they can be very subtle, but they can be very effective. And like I said, it gives more kind of visual weight to all of your different objects in here. And when you put a shadow underneath something like that, it says that it's not this see-through kind of object. You know, it's affecting its you know, terrain in there. Okay, so let's create a little bit more of a separation also between this little slope here and the ground. Now, as I make the slope a little bit darker, the shadows, you know, it's like the same shade as the shadow, so you might have to make your shadow a little bit darker, you know, accordingly. Now I'm going to vary this shading here as well. I'm not just going to have like it all dark or anything like that. You can see the sedge filler stamp in here, so I'm just making those areas a little bit darker, where the sedge filler is a little bit darker just inherently. Okay. So like that. That's a little rough. I'm leaving some areas open because I want to use some other colors in here, some browns or something like that in here. You want to see a show and tell of my private collection of stamps, Jeannie? I have that. I did a video before showing just my different trade. I think I just handheld the camera and just kind of went, scanned the trays. A lot of my private collection was kind of established, 15 years ago and before then. Okay, this is a little bit of burnt umber. It's kind of the same tone as this paper here. And you can see I'm just kind of going into my shadows too. You can kind of give your shadows a little bit of a richer hue, warmer hue, I guess, too. That. All right, so one of the things that I'm looking at too is I need to give this piece a lot more, I don't know, kind of containment and kind of continuity a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take a cotton ball and some of that same black pigment ink, okay? And let's contain this. There's a lot of little elements in this, of course, and we need a little more containment of that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit more of a stronger vignette. I got a little spider crawling on this. On my desk here. I don't know if you saw that there. I don't know if you see him right there. It's right there. All right, see that right there? It's kind of closing off that edge right there. So we'll put that a little bit more around on this entire perimeter here. This left side was already kind of, it's already kind of taken care of with the printing of the paper itself, so I don't have to do too much of it. It's just kind of balancing out this this other side of it a little bit. All right, and let's go in here a little bit more. The feel of this pigment ink in here, it feels like I'm using, I don't know, it feels like, it doesn't feel like I'm using a wet pigment ink or ink media. It feels more like I've dipped this into like a pan pastel or something like that, and I'm moving it around on here. That's kind of I'm kind of adding a little bit, it's like a dry brush application of media, but it feels practically dry to me. So I'm kind of closing this off a little bit to kind of go along with the shape of that circle there too. So it's going to go like this and then like this. A lot of the lighting that I do in my pieces, it's kind of about kind of a one light source like that, and then there's a kind of a reflected light coming off the landscape or something like that. So it's separated by, you know, a little bit of darkness like that. So the darkness might be, with some kind of object or something like that. But if it's not there, then I kind of add it in myself a lot of times. It doesn't have to go all the way across in here either, but if you just have this kind of coming in a little bit like this, in any piece, it's, you can do that exact same kind of simple lighting scheme in, 99% of the scenes that you do. If you want to have an element of lighting in it, like a strong light source, and reflected light, that's a lighting scheme. It's a really easy way to go. I have videos on it. If you look up Stampscapes on YouTube and just enter in Stampscapes easy lighting, there's probably 2 or 3 videos devoted to that concept. All right. So there we go, like that. So see, it's a little bit more contained than before. And this kind of thing, it goes really well with this paper too. It blends on here really nicely. All right. Now, let's see, this Anubis right, or I don't know, whatever that thing is, jackal or whatever, jaguar. Let me see. I think I want to add in a little bit of color to it. I'm going to add in a little bit of this purple here. I'm not going to color it purple, but I want some of these shadows to be a little bit, a little bit of a different hue. Maybe a blue would be good. I don't know. This purple goes really well with this kind of warmer toned, kind of aged background though. See, I'm just kind of reiterating the shadows in here, giving it a little bit of a different hue to the shadows. So I don't know if you can see that little bit of purple in there, purple-ish tinge. One of my son's first things that he really got into when he was in preschool was kind of Egypt, whatever, iconography or whatever you call it. So, I don't know, I did know the names of a lot of those different types of elements at one time. Okay, here's a little bit of this blue in here. Not necessarily making a blue eye, but I just wanted a little tinge of some, some different colors in here. I don't want to make it colorful or anything like that, but I just want some little bit of changes in hue on some of these little elements just to make them stand out a little bit more, but kind of subtle too. A little bit of a sluggy, greenish tinge. And what about... Oh... I'm trying to think of some color for those ants. I don't know. I guess I can't really color the ants too much, though, anyway. Oh, there's this little snail down here. I'll just go a little bit of brown or umber on them, just a touch. That. Let's hit some of these shadows a little bit more. Let's see if I can come into this sun a little bit with just a little tinge of warmth. I don't want to make it too extreme. All right. I don't know if you can even see that. I kept it really, really subtle. All right. So there we have that. Let's go with that tan. That tan against that paper in there sure looks white though, doesn't it? Hello, bugs! The spider is wanting to join the social. It was weird. It was like, oh, where did that spider come from? You know, it's on my desk here. Maybe it came from... Oh my god. So that spider is making a little tiny web. Unless there's like, I don't know, a bunch of spiders hatched around here or something like that during Halloween, but it's hanging, it's making a little bit of a web. It's like going like to that... It's probably the end of its web. It's probably on that little ant stamp that I just used right there. There's a little spider. He's got like his little web right here. Okay, so let's add in some little highlights in here. Let's go with the eyes for one. About like so. And see all these little kind of highlights that are already on these objects just inherently? I'm just going to bring some of those out on the, on the object, on the key objects within the scene, okay? Now some of them are in a kind of stamped in a dark area, so I'm not going to bring in too much highlighting on it. Let's see that little bit of highlighting like that. It kind of brings the object out a little bit more. There's a lot of ornament on this piece, so I'll kind of bring that out a touch, I think. These little ears like that. See that? It kind of makes it a little bit more three-dimensional. Here's these little, what's that supposed to represent? It's hair or something like that, or something like that. So that I just kind of brought that out a touch. And go like that. And these arms up here, let's see if we can add some of this in. Just from a design sense, what I'm doing right here is I'm going on the top sides of these, okay? So there's different ways you can do it. I'm kind of adding that in to see if I like it. And then I might add more in there. It's real subtle because this area right in here is already light anyway. But see this right up here? It's a little bit dull, so you can add in a little bit of highlighting like this. And white would really stand out, but I think it'd be a little bit too stark. And you know, unless you want it, you know, to look a little bit more explosive, then you can go for that. But I want to keep this one looking kind of a little bit more aged or something. Thanks for joining in, Crystal. Have a great rest of evening, weekend. Yeah, let's just see that little, you know, those rays are kind of coming out a little bit more. I'll add in more here too, because I think I like it. I'll make it a little bit lighter at the point or whatever, the source of the light. Let me see. I'm using this pen so much. It's like as I scratch, I'm kind of doing a scratchy kind of application of it. Sometimes it tends to clog up on me. So you got to skrill it off and get it flowing again. Like as I'm scratching along like this, sometimes it's picking up some of that brilliance ink into the tip or something, or whatever media you're going over. All right, so it's a little bit lighter. I don't know, spending a little bit of time on it. Let's illuminate some of these other things, like the slug, you know, or some of these ants, like this. Ant highlighting. Yeah, kind of like that, you know, these little ants. The skeleton could use a little bit, or this snail kind of disappears. Let's get its antennae. Antennae? There, like that. A little bit on the shell, maybe. And then on our skeletons that really kind of get a little bit obscured into the background. Give us something like that. All right, so it's a little bit too much on the snail, but what you do is you have to add in kind of little elements. If your objects, you know, are being kind of illuminated with little highlights like this, what you want to do is you want to kind of bring that same highlighting, that same lighting into the entire area. Otherwise it looks kind of weird. Like the little, like, you know, illuminated dots on the object. So I'm putting it into the terrain now on the grasses and everything. And we'll focus a little bit more of the highlighting kind of in the central area. And then as it moves out into this stronger, darker vignette, I'll do a little bit less highlighting in those areas. Okay. All right. Now, what I like to do on this little orbit area is sometimes I do these little kind of orbiting little, I don't know, whatever, orbs or something like that. And we'll make some of these glow too. Okay, something like that. Let's see. Like that. And I think I want to do something here from a textural standpoint. Let's grab our Dr. Martens here. Oh, bye to Jeannie there. Yeah, we have a, yeah. I guess I have my pet spider here joining in on the fun. I would usually transfer it like outside, but it's like this micro sized spider. I guess I would just grab it on a piece of paper and walk it out there, but you know, usually by the time I get, you know, to and from somewhere, those little bugs are usually big enough where I can see them. I would have no idea where he went. I could barely see him, and he's right in front of me here. The only reason I could see him is because he was moving. No, I don't see where that little web is anymore either. Huh. Okay, so I'm going to put in some of these little textural elements on the outside here. Sometimes I keep it kind of separate, or you know, sometimes I used to put little dots on the interior right here, just so it looks like it's like a different kind of I don't know, whatever realm or something like that. Or whatever, like the comic book these days, you know, the multiverse or something like that. I'm bringing some of this down in these other areas. I'll just kind of keep it out of this area, just to keep it a little bit of a different kind of textural quality to that area. Like about like that. All right, so I don't know if you can see that right in here. I'll go a little bit more so you can maybe see it. All right. That and all right, let's do something here too. This area in here, oh, this eye needs a little bit of treatment, doesn't it? Okay, so this area in here needs a little bit of a, actually the whole thing needs a little bit of a textural sprucing up, so I'm going to put, let me see, if I add in those other elements later, I can add in some crystals or something like that in here. I'm thinking about, okay, so if you just joined in, I was thinking about adding in something in these corners, like little Roman numerals or something like that with gold little accents or something like that. I mean, that gold would kind of go with this, you know, this Egyptian, whatever icon, whatever that figure is, too. But I want to add in these little kind of glowing little elements in here, and I'm wondering if I should do that with like some actual crystals, you know, little sparkly little elements in here. It might look kind of interesting contrasting against this kind of real aged looking antique surface. But I tell you what I'll do. I'll add these little elements in here, these little glowy types of elements in here just with my pen. And then if I want to kind of, you know, amp them up later on, I'll do that. You know, outside of the live stream, but we'll see what it looks like right here. Okay, so I'm adding in these little floating little elements. Okay, so I want this to be, okay, I'm figuring it out right now. I want these to look like things that are kind of emanating from this eyeball here, okay? So we'll have it in here, and then I'll have them coming out, okay. So we'll go larger out here, like this. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to space them out more and more the farther they get away from this. So I have these little elements in here, and then when you do is when you get out here, you have more space in between it. That would kind of signify kind of this as, you know, point of emanation or something like that. Okay, this is gonna, these little things like this out here are going to answer my, I think I've come across this before. When I had these little elements in here, I was adding in like fireflies to my other scenes where I use this type of paper. Because I like this kind of framing on this type of paper, you know, the kind of vignette, but it can sometimes be a little bit, if I don't do anything to it, it looks a little bit like it can use some little bit more of an exciting kind of element to it in terms of like contrast or anything. So that's what these little dots will do, I think. I mean, we could have even done like light beams coming out of there, but I don't know. Another time. Okay, so on some of these little orbs, I'm going to give it a little glowing type of finish to it, and I think that should do it on this piece. Again, unless I want to bling it out, you know, later on, which I don't know, I'm kind of thinking about with some gold elements on here, because I think the gold would look really good. But I need to figure out a strategy for that one, though. Okay, so white pigment ink, Q-tip. Kind of soften this up a little bit because this is a little bit too wound, a little bit too hard, so you have to kind of loosen it up a little bit and fray it. I'm loosening it up with the fibers a little bit. And then what you want to do is you want to dab in like so, and where did my, okay, this is my little test paper right here. So that's a little bit too harsh right there. It's a big blob of like white, you know, ink. So what you do is you take off enough, and then, you know, you can dab lighter here too. That's still a little bit too tight here. I want it softer. And when you dab it down like this too, you're kind of flattening this out and kind of softening up the tip a little bit more. But see that little glowy type of look like that? That's what you want right there. And then we will add that right over the tops of some of these little, you know, orbs here. And see, that one's a little bit softer than that one. Here, let me add it in these other darker areas so you can kind of see it better. Just do a real light touch and get that application through repetition. You might, if you haven't done this before, you might tap it once and it's like, okay, there's nothing showing. And you might tap it a few times, there's like barely anything shows, and you get impatient and like tap it down really hard. And that's when it gets like a big blob of, like it looks like paint. It's, it's just ink or something like that. But that's how you get that little glowing type of look like that. It was like 20 taps or something like that. But, if it takes that long, 20 taps, and it's like, it's like 5 seconds or something like that. So it doesn't take a long time. But you'll get the exact type of application that you want from that. Because it happens, nice and gradually, and you can, stop doing it. Or if you get too much down too, you can just wipe it off with your finger or something, or dab some of it off too. Okay. I also see that kind of those little glowing little orbs like that coming out of there. They're like little stars or something like that from this like celestial dial. Now I'm not going to do this with every little dot here, but I don't know, just doing them on a decent amount of them can really kind of wake up the scene a little bit more. It looks more dimensional to me, I think. I see these ones down here, like in the, like on the extremes, the farthest reaches like this. Maybe those represent, orbs that are kind of closer to us, and you can make that surrounding kind of glow a little bit, slightly larger if you want to. Like that one right there. And let's go a little bit more. I think I've done it too before, where I put this little ball right, over this outreached hand, and I've made it look like it's holding something, like a little sphere that's glowing. Let's do this figure right here. Let's have these little eyes a little bit kind of glowing here. You can make the eyes red if you want to, or whatever color you want. There, in the fusion, in the gallery section of the Stampscapes website, there's this gallery called the Fusion Gallery. And what I meant by that is just, I'm fusing Stampscape stamps with stamps from other companies. So there's one, I think it was the Secrets of the Stone, or is it? Yeah, the Secrets of the Stone has this figure in here. And this friend of mine was doing my website at the time, and I don't know, somehow he added in this little code onto that page, and he made those little eyes kind of blink red in that gallery, which is kind of cool. But anyway, all right, there's the little whatever star birth or something like that, orb birth on there. But I think that is it. On this one right here, I might, like I said, I might be adding some more elements to it in the future. I'm not really sure, but I really like the idea of some extra text or something like that. Or like I said, even if it was just some kind of Roman numerals or something like that, or a date on here, I think it would be really cool. I'm not sure where to do it on here, but the four corners really stand out to me in terms of something like that. It would look like one of those old, I don't know, when I look at old like cartography or something like that. I really like those old types of things like that where they have like a map in the middle and there's these kind of boxed areas on the like the corners or something like that that show other types of things on there. But I think that would look really good in here. The one thing about that though is if I add this on like a golden kind of perimeter, um, I'm going to have to cut this down, so I don't want to cut it down too much, but you know, something like that I think would look really good on the outside like that. So maybe I'll cut off, I don't know, like a 1/4 inch off, you know, the edges just so I can put something like this down there like that. And then on the interior in here, I can have, you know, these little kind of additional elements in here. And then I would probably put something on this dial here that would, you know, kind of be a golden, you know, kind of a little element within the inside like that. But this gold really looks good as something kind of blingy and exciting with this real aged, you know, kind of antique paper. You can do it where it's like a, you know, real thin. Actually, this would look better. See that really tiny little white like that around there like that would look good because it kind of reiterates this line, this circle in there. It's something like this. I mean, ideally, I'd have a little bit more of that gold showing like out here, but you know, I don't want to have to cut off too much of the composition like that. So, and I don't want to do it where I'm using like 2 pieces of paper, you know, gold in the background. You see this little, you know, part where it's like cut off like that. So I think just cutting into this piece right here makes the most amount of sense like that. But yeah. Anyway, all right. Hello, Vintage Scrap Girl. It's fun stuff. I just kind of thought about this one on the fly, you know, right before I came in. Like I said, I want to do some more of this kind of like this dial type of thing like this with maybe some of the, I don't know, whatever, more Halloween-ish, you know, looking iconography on here. But I want to try it on, yeah, with some of those different things like a Miri lava or something like this. Can you imagine that, you know, doing like something like this piece right here with this in here, you know, somehow on like a holographic or something like that, or like I said, that Miri lava paper, you know, there's this type of paper like this. If we can kind of not, you know what I mean, not in a bigger, you know, huge way, but you know, just somehow incorporate this real kind of like, you know, super dynamic types of papers into something like this. I think it would look really cool. I want to play around with like multi-surface types of compositions like that, and doing these like little Halloween types of things where you can have like these little kind of vignettes or whatever going on around in there. I think that would be a perfect opportunity to use multi surface types. Oh, so that reminds me too. There's this other thing that I want to do too, but I have to kind of format it up. But you know, it's like one of those what do you call this advent calendars? You know, like for Christmas. Now I'm not gonna do like a whole month or something like that, but I want to do a bunch of windows on, you know, a piece where you open up like little things. So little things like rocks or something like that. You know, the ledge stamp. It has a nice clean thing. So I want to do something where you're opening it up like you know, rocks or something like this thing right here. It could be stamped out like this, but then you can cut it out around here and have this other layer in the background, you know, where this thing can kind of, maybe the hinge would be like right here, and you flip this over and, you know what I mean? I don't know, this one's not like a mummy right here or something like that, but you can have a skeleton or a, you know, something else in the background, or just some kind of other, you know, it could be if you have a small pyramid or something like that in there, that might be kind of interesting. But, and also I'm kind of not sure, you know, I want to, we would have to have these little handles or something like that glued down on here where it'd be a little bit, or I don't know, maybe we need a little tab on it where, you know, we can open these things up easily, like a little rock, or, it's like a little cave scene or something like that. This eyeball could be behind something, and you open it up and there's that eyeball in there. Or the flap, if it's a flap that you kind of open up like that, like this thing right here, this thing can flap over, and the back side of it could be like mirrored stock. And because you're opening it up like this, or if there's something where you open it up like this, you can put that mirrored stock in here, and then you can have this mini little reflection thing going on with whatever's in here showing on the back side of that thing like that. So I don't know. It's like coming off of, doing these real simple types of applications with these papers like this. It's like we're talking about, a little bit of construction and stuff like that scenario going on. So, but I think I want to do something like that for a little Halloween type of project. And I think it'd be really fun to do something like that. So I don't know. I need to figure out a way to do that. Anyway, let's see. Hope you guys enjoyed the card. I'll post, I'll figure out what I'm going to do on the rest of this piece right here. I probably need to look at it for a couple days, and I think we can add in some of the little exciting little elements within this piece like this. And I think, yeah, the gold's the way to go. And like I said, so on these little, like, these little orby types of things like that, I think what I'll do is I'll spray seal this. And if I do add in this kind of, more reflective types of elements in here, I think I'll go with some crystals in the middle of these little orbs in here. Just bringing a little bit more of a three-dimensional kind of reflective, blingy look into this piece, which may or may not work. I don't know, but we'll test it out. Anyway. Thanks for joining in, everyone. Hope you have a great rest of evening and weekend. Look at, if you haven't joined in or checked it out, take a look at the Stampscapes Facebook group. There are some really awesome pieces being added all the time to, the group's whatever message pool. I don't know, whatever you call it, the discussion board. So, yeah. Check it out. Linda's stuff's all on the Flickr gallery too. So if you're not on Facebook, you can check out at least. Not everyone, hardly anyone actually does Flickr, but Flickr's just an open type of thing, and you can look people up on there and not be a member of a Flickr or something like that. You can check that out. But all these pieces are being of mine are being added in there as well. So, yeah. All right, everyone. Hope to see you next time. Thanks for joining in.